Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Hey Sister. Hey, sister, how you doing?
Hey, sister, I'm doing well. We're, in the midst of Kwanzaa and looking forward to having a little conversation about that as we discuss our year in review.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we are hopefully we'll have someone coming on sharing a little bit about Kwanzaa, but we are in day 2 of Kwanzaa. Whether you celebrate it or not, you should get up on these principles because they are actually principles for living. I want to say that. How about that? If you tuning in tonight, just drop in the comments. Let us know that you're here and where you're tuning in from. We want you to join the conversation tonight in the comments as we do our year in review. We've had a lot talk about what a weekend in terms of movies, sister. We got to talk about that too, right?
Yeah.
For our year in review, we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little bit about everything, right? We're going to talk about the hottest topics that happened this year. We're going to talk about in Memorium, who we've lost and who's transitioned this year. And we're just going to have some fun with it as well. So that's what we're all about. Oh, look at the Blair.
Yes, hey Blair.
How are you? Yes. Hey fam, how you doing? We are so excited. Oh, did you make your big announcement public yet, Blair? If you did, let me know if you made it public so that we can talk about that. Because listen, our family, the Blairisms, talk about a year of blessings. Right. So we know that this has been definitely a year of struggle and strife. But in struggle and strife, there's also been so many great things and opportunities. We've been doing Hey Sister. It's been growing. People watching, we don't even know they're watching, right, sister? We learned that this morning, right? Yes. So it's so many. Okay. It's not public. Okay. All right. I'm going to just listen.
Because we know when two words are next to each other, we know what that means.
For sure. Well, honey, listen, there's so many great things in store. Like there's been blessings in this year as well. And I think sometimes it's really difficult to remember that because of so much struggle and strife and calamity. But there have been some things that we can laugh about. There have been some things that certainly will be etched in our memories forever, right? So yeah, we're gonna talk about all that tonight. But first, where would you like to go first, sister? Oh, we got Cam watching. Hey
Cam.
How you doing? Cam's one of our super fans over there in Louisiana. Hey. Blair's clowning now, talking about the word.
Black. Me too, Blair.
Black. See, I even have my We Buy Black shirt on tonight, right?
Well, I tried to dress it up a little bit because it's the last show of the year and we're about to start a new year. And so I tried to dress it up a little bit.
On me, but that's all right. It's all good. Listen, I want you all to share this broadcast with your friends, start a watch party, tell somebody about Hey Sister, tell them to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that they won't miss out on anything. We have so many more great things that are in store and that's coming up this year that we're very excited about. We're looking to launch new things this year and go bigger, better, harder for our sisters and our misters, because that's what we're about, the sisters and the misters. Hello, how you doing? But in terms of 2020, we were trying to think, this year in review, where to begin. And so when we just contextualize and think about the actual calendar year, it was in January that we learned about the tragic death of Kobe Bryant, his daughter, and their friends and that were with them traveling to just a basketball game, right? They thought it was just going to be a normal day, something that they've done before, take a quick helicopter lift over to where they were going to be playing. And it did not go as normally planned. And I don't know if that should have been like a glimpse to us how 2020 was going to clown, but it was one of the first real incidents that shook us in this year. So, sister, do you remember back to that time, and what were you thinking then?
Absolutely. I remember every single aspect of it. We had gone to see Just Mercy that day. And so I remember walking out of the theater and having a particularly a visceral reaction to like one of the very last scenes in the movie. I'm going to give it away because by now you should have seen Just Mercy. We've talked in the past about our own experiences and our own family in terms of the justice system, and having an uncle who was wrongly convicted and subsequently exonerated. And the last scene of the movie, it's a gentleman who had been on death row who is released, and after 30 years, and I just remember that scene of his mother crying and thanking God, and I remember feeling just so, I don't know, I was shaking at that moment because I was just like, man, our family, our people, we relying on God, we trusting in God, and man, how 30 years, how you sit in jail for 30 years for something you didn't do based on somebody saying you look like you was guilty. And went from there, walking out of the theater to my car, and saw the alert on my phone. And I was like, wait, what? This can't be real. Mm-hmm. So then I was like, did you just get a text? Did you just get a message? So then I started searching, and everybody hadn't reported at that time. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I don't know, what is this? This must be something. And then by the time I went from my car to the restaurant, still mad about the movie Just Mercy, to go grab something to eat. And I was in like a sports bar, and it was on every screen. And it was like, this is insane. So yeah, 2020 started out in rare form. And I think so many of us came out of 2019 feeling like we had lost so many heroes and sheroes. And so this, even for someone who, to be honest, and I've said it before, I was never a huge Kobe Bryant basketball fan. I respected the work ethic and all the things he was able to accomplish, but I was never like a huge Kobe Bryant fan. But it was definitely even a gut punch for me. So I remember all of that. And the gut punches just kept coming.
Talk about it, they just keep on coming. It really shook me, and especially thinking about the hope and promise of your children. Mm-hmm. Right. And that, he was a father of daughters, helping his daughter live her dream, right? To follow in his footsteps and supporting women in that way. And again, like, I wasn't no Los Angeles Lakers. I wasn't no real, super fan, what have you. But at 41, and for the families, the other families as well, it was just who lost children who lost a mother or lost a father. It still was very heartbreaking.
I think there was a family, if I remember, they lost both the mother
and the
father.
Yeah.
And then even with Vanessa Bryant, obviously the Bryants being the most popular or well known of the group of people who tragically lost their lives, I just remember thinking, wow, how do you deal as a mother, first of all, just having a child not very long ago, and then now having to mourn the loss of another child, having to mourn the loss of a child, but also simultaneously mourning the loss of your husband, your soulmate, your spouse, your best friend. And it's like, I don't know that how many tears I can't even imagine. So
Well, and we know those tears are still coming, right? Because we
Mhm.
know that's how loss is, and they don't stop. So another in terms of big hot topic this year and loss was obviously the coronavirus pandemic. Now we're not going to spend a whole lot of time. We dedicated 2 whole episodes to it. You can go back on our YouTube channel. Who subscribe to our YouTube channel? If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, drop in the comments that you subscribe to the YouTube channel. If not, we're going to drop the link so you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, because there's no reason for you ever to miss an episode of Hey Sister. But we have 2 episodes dedicated to the coronavirus pandemic. We did one early in the year in April.
Mhm.
And we most definitely did not think that we would be doing another episode in December, but we did, So the vaccine is now have hit the marketplace. The pandemic has continued to ravage the country. Over 330,000 people have lost their lives, and people were like, "Oh wow, that's not that big, that's not that many people." But actually, we're about 25% of the cases in the world are the United States, and 1% of all the deaths. 330,000 people, when you just think about your own self and the number of people you touch in your life and your family, that is so very significant. That's millions of people that have been impacted by those losses. So I don't know, sister, where do we go from here with this pandemic?
I think I think the lesson that I'd like for us to learn from this is, how do we become better people overall? So like you said, there are some people who may say, well, 330,000 people, I mean, that's not that big of a number. But in the grand scheme of how other viruses act or impact us, it is a big number. In the fact that there are countries that have, by population, China and India, that are far larger than us, and while their aggregate number, their gross number may be higher, the percentages of their population is lower. It's a huge percentage of our population in comparison. So, and just for everybody that has lost a person, I mean, if you're the person who's lost somebody, then it doesn't matter if it's 2 people or 1 person. If you're that person who's lost somebody, then that's a major impact. And so where I hope we go from here is giving each other a little more grace. Where I hope we go from here is doing what's best for the greater good. So if for people who are out there who still don't believe that this virus is, let's just say, they'll say, well, the virus didn't kill people, they died of the other underlying conditions that they had. Okay, for people who believe that you have the right to believe whatever you want to believe, but for other people's safety and for their sake, I would just hope that we would be better human beings, like not making a big deal about wearing masks. Because like I told you the other day, I went to the grocery store and it didn't dawn on me until it was time for us to check out, that this lady and her daughter, who was clearly biracial, and when I'm saying biracial, I mean she had some Black in her family, and they didn't have on masks, and it hit me as I was about to check out, because I was like, I hope she don't come behind me in line, because then I'm gonna be on YouTube for the wrong reason.
All the wrong reasons, for the right ones at the same time.
Right. But I was like, because if you don't believe in it for if you don't care about your own health, at least care about the health of your kids and the people around you. So just wash your hands, wear a mask. That's all I can say. Because even with a vaccine, it's not going to just happen overnight.
It ain't gonna poof.
Right. We still need to wash our hands, wear masks, and be careful. So
yeah, and that's the thing. What's driving this is human behavior. So that tell me they got a lot of awful human beings out there.
It's feeling like that. It's feeling like
like
that
that.
for
Like,
some of it.
come on now. And I know that we tired. That COVID fatigue is for real, for real. We would love to be with our family. Right now, we would be in Louisiana probably, right? Having had celebrated, we would be enjoying. We'd be somewhere, but we wouldn't be where we at right now. We'd still be on Hey Sisters. So we hopefully that you tuning in. But yeah, this coronavirus pandemic is nothing to play with, and it definitely dominated 2020. And so we got a lot of selfish human beings. Girl, we gonna talk about selfish in a minute because we're gonna tie that into a movie topic. But now we're gonna talk about the other big thing. So this was around May. So we've been in the house for a minute. And then we're gonna bring our special guest on because I think there's a good link and tie in here. Black Lives Matter. So we've been knowing about Black Lives Matter since the Michael Brown in St. Louis in Missouri. That's when Black Lives Matter. Actually, they started.
No, I thought it was around Trayvon Martin.
Yeah, they started around Trayvon Martin. Started as a hashtag or what have you. It's a movement around just saying that Black lives of people of the African diaspora, they matter. Because we know that for too long they have been abused, used, mistreated, and so in May is when it seemed to, and I think partly because we were at home during the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Everybody was home. So in May, when the George Floyd incident happened, it was put into the consciousness of people who I guess had continued to, like, they were not woke, they were still asleep. But it really put it into their consciousness. But George Floyd was not the first incident. He hasn't been the only incident this year where people have been murdered at the hands of police. I mean, we just had an incident just a week ago, I think, in Columbus, Ohio, where a man was shot with a cell phone in his hand. We have the Breonna Taylor incident. We had Ahmaud Arbery, which was not at the hands of police, but was at the hand of people who felt that they have a right to police Black bodies. And then also kind of at the behest of the police, because in that small community, it would have went away unless people did not really raise hay about it.
It would have went away had, was it the district attorney, whoever released the video, because they thought it would actually show that the people who murdered Ahmaud Arbery were not in the wrong. And right. It was like, what are you watching? So
that part. Well, we have somebody said they will be in DC right now. Yes. And then we have a question from Cam about, are you going to get the vaccine now or wait about 6 months? Well, we probably won't be called eligible. Up. Won't be called up probably for about 6 months. Now, since you work for the mayor, you might get called up before us, because that's about continuation of government. Yes, Andre Hill, no relationship. He had a cell phone in hand and in a private garage. Exactly. And so this Black Lives Matter thing, it will never go away. But I think it goes back to that thing about us being decent human beings. I think if we start recognizing each other's humanity, regardless of hue, that will go a long way to these incidents actually going away. So, but that's going to lead us in. We want to have a little kind of commercial break here and bring on our special guest, and it ties in here. We're going to bring on Donna Marie. Hey, Donna, you got to unmute yourself. Let's see.
All right, there we go.
Hey, Donna Marie.
Habaragani.
Baragani. What's the word? Today is
It's
Kuji
Kuji
Chagalia.
Chagalia.
Yes.
Today is the principle of Kuji Chagalia.
Yes. So we're going to do a little Kwanzaa break right now and talk a little bit about Kwanzaa and the principles of Kwanzaa as they relate to really knowing our own heritage. And so you can give us a little bit about the history of Kwanzaa. I know some people think it's a religious observance. It's not a religious observance, but tell us a little bit about the history of Kwanzaa.
Sure. Thank you for having me on, first of all. And I will say I don't know all of the history of Kwanzaa, but I will share what I know. And so Kwanzaa is celebrated from December 26th to January 1st. It's 7 days. And as you can see in the background, I have 7 candles lit here. Kwanzaa is an African American cultural holiday celebrating the rich heritage of African and of our African ancestry. Kwanzaa is observed again over 7 days. And the foundation of Kwanzaa, well, actually, I'll share a little more. The history, Kwanzaa was founded in 1966 by Dr. Karinge. He's a cultural activist and a Black Studies professor whose goal was to unite the African American community. I celebrate Kwanzaa every year. I love the 7 principles. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to share Kwanzaa with you. Kwanzaa, as you can see, is spelled Kwanzaa, and the extra A is there because there are 7 principles. The very first principle we celebrated yesterday was unity, umoja, and it's symbolic of this Black candle, which represents our people, our African people. The red candles to the left of the Black candle represents the blood that was shed and the struggle of our people. The green candles represent our future and our land, our African motherland. So again, there are 7 principles of Kwanzaa. 7 candles are called the Mashumo Saba, and the 7 principles are the Nguzo Saba. The 7 principles, actually, the Kanara is the candle holder here. The Kanara sits on top of the Makeka, it's the mat. And the mat represents the foundation of Kwanzaa, and it represents the tradition and our history. It also is the foundation as we utilize the Kwanzaa principles to honor and respect our elders, our ancestors. Some of the other symbols here, we have what's called a unity cup. And what we do with the unity cup, we each sip from the unity cup together to symbolize our faith and our family and our community. We have here what's called I'm looking at my notes, is the Mahindi. This is the corn. And the corn represents the children in our families. It represents fertility. It represents the future. We have also crops. The candle holder, first of all, is symbolic of our roots, our parents, and continental Africans. Let's see. Kwanzaa is usually celebrated with gifts. Gifts not in the material sense, gifts that we create with our hands. So zawadi are what those gifts are called. And I'm just going to go over the 7 principles just really quickly. So day 1, we celebrated, which was yesterday, December 26th, Umoja, which is also unity. Today, Kuji Chakalia, self-determination. And I'll just go back to Umoja. It's to strive for and maintain unity in our family, our community, our nation, and our heritage. Today's principle, Kuji Chakalia, and usually in a ceremony, you start off asking Habaragani or yelling the word Habaragani. And Habaragani is asking your audience, what's the word? And that's Swahili. All of this is based on Swahili principles in the Swahili language. And today's principle, again, is kujichagulia, to define ourselves, create for ourselves, and to speak for ourselves. Tomorrow, day 3, Ujima, collective works and responsibility. It's to build and maintain our community together and to make our sisters' and brothers' problems our problems and to solve them together. Mm-hmm. Principle 4, Ujima, cooperative economics, to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and our businesses and to profit from them together. For each principle, I'll stop briefly. We start lighting, again, the black candle, which represents our heritage, our people, our Blackness. And that's first and foremost because Black lives matter. Mm-hmm. We then light the last candle, the red candle, which again represents the blood that has been shed, which also represents the struggle for equality and freedom. And then we move to the green candle on the 3rd day. And we continue to alternate from red to green until the 7th day when all of the candles are lit. So day 5, the principle is Nia, or purpose, to make our collective vocation the building and development of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. The principle, day 6, Kuumba, creativity, to always do as much as we can in the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it. And I think that's something we learned from our family, definitely. Everywhere you go, to leave a place better than you left it. So that's been instilled in us since children. The very last principle, day 7, January 1st, as we begin a new year, 2021, is to believe with all of our heart in our parents, our people, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. And so, again, usually a Kwanzaa ceremony starts with, it has 7, I guess, parts to it, the order of the ceremony. It starts with a welcome, and each of these words are, or each of these parts are also described by a Swahili word, which I'm not going to try to pronounce for you, but I can certainly drop them in the chat.
Well, yeah, I put a website. The link, the official Kwanzaa website, is in the chat, so you can go and read and learn more about the principles and really how you can live the principles every day.
So, if you plan to have your own Kwanzaa ceremony, it starts with a welcome, and then it moves on to remembering. And so, you drink from the unity cup, and you reflect on your past, on your ancestors, on the struggles. And it's an opportunity to, again, drink from the unity cup of faith and community, and remembering is part of the ceremony. Next is reassessment and recommitment, which is kind of the same as reflecting. And then there's an option for rejoicing. So I'm not sure if any of you have seen Kwanzaa ceremonies, but there's usually lots of dancing, lots of poetry, lots of drumming, lots of music, and again, all representing our African heritage. Usually people are dressed in African attire. The colors of Kwanzaa, which I've already stated, are red, green, and black. And I'll do those in the right order: black, red, and green. And then the next is libation statement and calling of names. And so in my family, we've had a Kwanzaa celebration 2 days so far this week, and we plan to do it throughout this week. And I have read different opinions about this libation statement and calling of names. Some people do it on the very last day. I think it's important to have a libation statement and the calling of names and recognition and honoring of our ancestors each night of Kwanzaa. And so we've been doing that each night. Then a farewell statement. And on the very last day of Kwanzaa, there's a feast. And it can be any food you want at your feast. It can be you going out to a restaurant to fellowship together, to eat together, but it should be on a joyous occasion, bringing in the new year and acknowledging our greatness as Black people. And so Black, again, is unity, represents unity among African people. The red is struggles that we have endured and our ancestors have endured for equality and our freedom. And the green is hope for a better future, which is where we begin every single year. These Kwanzaa principles, you live them 365 days of the year. The celebration is once a year. And I think I love Kwanzaa. I think these principles, again, we can live every day of our lives.
Absolutely. Well, we thank you so much for coming on for this Kwanzaa break. I think it's very much needed at this time. You know, for a moment like this, we have had a year where the consciousness and awareness of who we are and our culture has been raised. Like I said, you see, I have my We Buy Black shirt on. So if you haven't been to WeBuyBlack.com, go check that out. I have a running list of people who you can support and businesses you can support as well, and what have you. But really, to me, Kwanzaa is about the awareness and consciousness. And whenever we're operating in a place of consciousness, we have the power of choice versus just going through the motions and unaware of the impact of and the power in the actions that we take every day. So I thank you for this Kwanzaa break. Sister, what do you want to say?
Oh, I have a lot to say. So
because before we get back to the rest of it, this was a good break.
Well, I do want to tie it back to Black Lives Matter. I think that in 2020, many of us, especially those of us who work in corporate America, for example, we saw a newfound interest in Blackness. And we saw that in our workplaces where we had CEOs who had never made statements before making statements. You had, people in government simultaneously saying that Black Lives Matter and stripping away racial diversity and inclusion trainings. We saw we're going to talk about some movies. We saw where you had Netflix and other streaming services had sections dedicated to Black folks.
They got black real fast this year, didn't they?
Right. It was a lot of blackness. And what I think we can take from sitting in this place where we're saying to people, yeah, we have to keep saying Black Lives Matter because and we know there's always those who want to say all lives matter. Well, until Black Lives Matter, all lives can't matter because you have wholly dismissed Black people in so many different ways. And now with this newfound interest in us, we can see that people are sadly in some ways capitalizing off of it, but I think it's important that we use this time where we've been at home ordering online to, like you have on your shirt, Buy Black, to support Black businesses. All of us have a Black business. If it's Hey Sister, if it's Vantage Point Coaching, if it's Best
Life Wellbeing.
Best Life Wellbeing. Thank you. I was going to get it. It was like I was seeing all of the Instagram. Anyway, so we all have those businesses so that we can support our own. We do not have to, we're in a place where we can definitely exercise these principles every single day for the betterment of our community. And I know that our community is a loaded term. or loaded phrase, but we have seen where others, like I said, have taken this, have a newfound interest in Blackness and have found ways to capitalize off of it. And I think it's important for us to capitalize on our own Blackness, capitalize off of our own greatness, to understand that when we say Black Lives Matter, it's not to diminish other people, but it's to say, see us, recognize us. We shouldn't die in our private garage with a cell phone in our hand. We shouldn't have to witness a police officer putting his knee on someone's neck for 8 minutes and 49 seconds, I believe, 46 seconds, in order for us to finally get it. And we shouldn't get it for a few months and then become so fatigued by it that now, folks read a book, they donated to a charity, and now they don't want to talk about it. So whether you agree with how Kwanzaa was started or why it was started and all that stuff, these are principles that we should be exercising every day so that we can capitalize off of our greatness.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you, Donna Marie.
Thank you, Donna Marie.
And thank you for this Kwanzaa break. We're going to get back to our...
Drop her stuff, her Instagram and everything in there.
Yeah, drop that in the comments. What is at Best Life
Wellbeing, right?
Yep.
Y'all follow Donna Marie, get into what she got going on, and all of her inspiration, motivation, and all that good stuff. So we super excited. Thank you very much.
And how many days you say you've been to yoga?
I've actually lost count, but it's been about 35 days, and I've probably been 35 consecutive days and maybe about 45 sessions over that 35-day period.
So I just wanted to shout that out because, that's inspiration as we get ready for this new year.
Well, that really aligns with today's Kwanzaa principle, self-determination. And so health and well-being is very important and for all of us. And mental health, spiritual health, and physical health. And so the yoga studio has been a lifesaver for me, a great outlet. And so I'm going to continue. The goal is 90 consecutive days.
Woo!
All right. Woo-hoo! All right. Well, everybody, let's thank Donna Marie.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We'll catch you up. See you later.
Love you.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go faster. I'm sorry. I know we got a lot left to talk about, but we hitting with Black Lives Matter, and that's deep.
Well, it is. I mean, hey, it is what it is, and it's not that it is deep or any deeper or than any other topic that we're talking about. But I just, we wanted Donna to come on and talk about these principles because I think that whether you have, with the real consciousness or tacitly kind of like know what Kwanzaa is or celebrated Kwanzaa, I think in this year of 2020, with all that has happened, I think that the principles, even more so today, are necessary for us not just to reflect on, but to incorporate into our daily lives. So how do we create unity every day? How do we live out self-determination? How do we name and define ourselves? Whether that's at home, at church, in the community, at work, for our children, in schools. We're a little bit tired of you defining who we are and telling us who we are. So we have to take back ownership of our names and who we are and walk in that way. And so in all the rest of the principles, whether it's Nia with purpose, Imani with faith, Ujima, Kuamba, or, cooperative economics, creativity, all of those principles. If we make one conscious effort each day to do those 7 principles every day, when you say our community, the entire community of humankind would be better. Because one thing I know for sure is where we move culturally, The cold.
Everybody else goes.
Period, point blank. Catch that. Y'all drop down in the comments, and if y'all have anything.
Well, I'm gonna let you go on to the next thing. But you said, you don't know if it's more important than any of the other topics, but I tend to believe it is because it's related to every one of the topics. Because when you say coronavirus, when we talking about Black Lives Matter, we have been shown through the healthcare system that our lives have not mattered as significantly as some others. When you see, again, somebody like Donald Trump have access, and don't get me wrong, I know he's the president of the United States, but have access to treatments that, I mean, going back to the start of this pandemic, I know some people personally who would have loved for their family members to have access to that. And we were wholly disregarded. And
well, yeah, there was a case recently. It was a Black woman physician. She documented it, and she's had her Facebook Live. She has passed away, but she just talked about even being a physician. There was another one earlier this year, early in the pandemic, because what we know now versus what we knew then is very different. Right. But even early on in the pandemic, a young man who was a nurse who was just talking about how like he could not get people to pay attention to him, and he was a nurse. And he knew the people, and he knew the language, he knew what to speak, and still virtually being ignored and really having to make up in his mind self-determination. I gotta fight for my own damn life up in here because ain't nobody gonna fight for me.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what happened to our family friend. His wife told him, you got to get up every day and you're going to have to fight because they're not going to do it. They will let you linger and die. That's and right. So that's why, I mean, again, maybe I'm a little biased, but I think the Black Lives Matter piece matters most because it matters in all of these hot topics, if you will, because you're about to throw up the election.
Election 2020. And let me tell you, Georgia, y'all still in early voting. You have an opportunity to change the world. I tell you, Georgia. Let's do it, Georgia. Early voting ends on January 1st, which is Friday coming up. All right. So, but election 2020, one of the big hot topics of the year. I know people, the election basically boiled people down to not really knowing simple math and statistics. But, 80 million, just because you got 70 million, you got the most ever. But if somebody got 71 million, they still got more. They got 72, 3, 4, 5. If they recounted 3 times and you still lost, 4, 5 times, 13 states, Texas trying to contest, and all of this other foolery that has gone on. We know that election 2020 was a hot, stinking mess. But what else did we expect from the hot, stinking mess that has been this administration that allowed millions of people to be infected by a virus and impacted by this global pandemic in the way that it had, who the data has come out and shown, because they were talking to this herd immunity bullshit, really, we want everybody just to get it because then these people this many people gonna recover and this is gonna be okay. That's not how it works. So when you have people who unqualified, uneducated, and this election has exposed.
I have to say, and I continue to believe this.
Yes, Miss Murray, go Georgia.
Yes. I know that's hard for a lot of those LSU fans to say, but not for me. Go Georgia. I think one of the things that has really, so you were saying one thing, well, let me back up. One thing about the pandemic and the herd immunity thing, and, the fact that there was a point when you had elected officials saying, I think your grandmama would be willing to die on your behalf. Like that was insane, now we have this opportunity to have, the Senate split 50-50. But even that feels like it's too, it shouldn't come down to that. But truth be told, it's like if we had not had this pandemic, we would probably be looking at another Trump administration. And that's what's scary and sad. What's scary and sad is that also people can't comprehend that if more people got out and voted, some of them more people were Black. And so when they say stupid stuff like, oh, how can a white man get more votes than a Black guy? First of all, do y'all not realize that, some white people did vote for Barack Obama? Like, he didn't win the presidency solely on Black voters. Like, he didn't. He couldn't mathematically. Again, that tricky thing. But if more people voted in totality, it's very likely that some of those more people were Black. And so, yeah, it is absolutely possible for a white man to get more votes from Black people than it is for a Black guy. And whenever somebody says that, like, as if that is an impossibility, that tells me that there's something else at play there.
Absolutely. Well, like Rosalind said, this election has exposed folks need a civics class. It has exposed they need a math class. It has exposed that they need, some of them just need basic English like class. It has exposed that people need economics class. It has exposed that people need all of these classes and beyond just Schoolhouse Rock, because they got the Schoolhouse Rock thing. I think they figured that out now because this pandemic bill has not been passed. It hasn't been signed by the president. So I think they figured out the I'm just bill part yet, but they need a whole bunch of lessons right now.
Some of them going back to what she said earlier about human beings just being
she agrees with Rosalind, says people needing civics class, throw a history class in there as well. Yes, ma'am.
Throw a class in being a decent human being, because you should just know that, like, again, the same people who told us he won, get over it. He won, get over it. Like,
but them same senators who say, oh, it's a hoax, this pandemic, they sure was cheesing. Warming up their arm to get that vaccine first.
Right. Yeah, I still don't understand that, but I also don't understand how the election was rigged, but you want people to show up and vote. I don't want y'all to show up and vote in Georgia. Since it was rigged, y'all stay at home.
It says he signed it this evening. Well, good. Whatever. That. Anyway, this election, I will say this. We will have the first female and woman of color of Jamaican and South Indian heritage to be.
And you can be that and still be a U.S. citizen too.
And Black. Yeah,
right.
And Black, she Black. So let's not have that conversation again. Vice president. And so in the year when Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who transitioned, and her landmark case on the basis of sex, if you didn't see that movie, go find it and watch it. But yes, in that same year, we have the first woman who's going to be vice president. And so, hey, 2020, what we say? 2020. The other big thing that happened in 2020 is, let me tell you, the West Coast has been on fire. We, I think last year it was the rainforest, and then this year the West Coast. And I have many clients that were on the West Coast. So on top of the pandemic keeping them inside, they literally could not go outside because ash was falling from the sky because the air quality was so bad. And listen, this climate change is real, and what we see on California burning is real, and it is very, very devastating. That was one of the big news story of the year. And you used to live there, sister. You experienced a wildfire or two in your experience. Tell us about that.
Well, the thing about it is, I lived in Los Angeles County, so more often than not, when I was there, more often than not, when people would hear about it on the news, they'd call and say, "Oh, is everything okay?" And you're like, "Yeah, that's so far away. That's there, or wherever it was." And I think what we saw this year, as well as I believe last year, I feel like it got really close to the 405. I think there was near the Getty Center, and just a lot of things that happened way close, so much closer than had in the past. And of course, I've been gone now for 3 years, so nearly 4 years. So I'm not speaking on it as if I'm an expert, but I will say that, like I said, in my time there, it always felt like it was so much further away. And this just when I've seen it this year and last, but this year specifically, it seemed so much closer. And then even having up to Northern California and in Vegas, having the impact, people even into what I believe Oregon had some fires as well. So like you said, it wasn't just California, it was the West Coast. Experienced a lot of fire. And going back to, as Rosalind said, 45 stays on drama. I mean, going back to this fella trying to tell folks they need to clean up the forest. And it's like, first, that's a federal responsibility. But B,
civics class.
But B, that's not.
You need to rake it. You got to get that rake.
Yes, because that's why it's like, what are you saying, sir? What are you saying?
And sitting there saying, well, scientists, and they could be wrong.
They could be wrong. But you're right. I doubt it.
Oh boy. Oh my goodness. Well, the last big topic is explosions. So earlier this year, and we saw that beautiful image of someone in Beirut. They were getting married, and the wedding gown, and then the explosion as it happened. So there was an explosion in Beirut. There was an explosion just days ago in Nashville. The Nashville, more information is still coming out. I think the FBI has identified who they believe is the perpetrator and who also believed to have died in that. But we know that more information is going to come available there. I think the incident in Beirut was some negligence in storage of some, chemicals and what have you. And so, for me, what it just shows is that you could just be going about your normal everyday life. The man was about to go walk his dog, and they were like, evacuate, move. And he like, well, what I got to evacuate? Boom, in Nashville, in downtown. Like, things can change in an instant, totally unexpectedly. I don't know what you have to say about these incidents, sister.
Yeah, I just remember seeing the video of the wedding party, and it's things like that that you take for granted. That's supposed to be the happiest day of someone's life, and in an instant it becomes tragic, and not just tragic for the bride and groom, but even the guests and things like that. So those images out of Beirut were heartbreaking. And on the one hand, I guess there's a sense of relief that it's not a terrorist attack. But then when you think of a level of irresponsibility, if it is, chemicals that were improperly stored or things like that, you're like, how many lives did you ruin being irresponsible? It's like the thing, you have one job, and how do you mess that up, and how many people who can be impacted by that? And I think and as far as Nashville is concerned, the thing that I struggle with right now is, I know there's so much still left to find out and figure out. But if we're talking about suicide, you don't do that to commit suicide. Mm-hmm. Not in my opinion. And I'm not saying that I support someone committing suicide, but I'm saying that why do you want to destroy and hurt and harm so many people? And then for it to be so very elaborate with certain music and messages and, the timing of it. I mean, I guess on the one hand, you can say, thankfully, there weren't a lot of people out and about. Again, though, had we not been in the midst of a virus, this coronavirus, and had it not been at the time of the morning that it was, who could have been hurt and harmed by that? And that just, again, feels very selfish to me. So,
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, all right. So we're going to transition here and try to lighten it up and talk a little bit about movies and entertainment. So this week, so people are skewed. We're not going to do no spoilers. People are skewering Wonder Woman 84.
Okay, since I'm going to plug up, you keep talking. I'm going to plug up really quickly because I don't want to run out.
Why she ain't got the dang plug? Okay, go ahead, girl.
Because I thought I did, and then I kept looking at the number, and then I was like, oh, it's right.
People are scoring Wonder Woman 84, but I'm going to tell y'all this. All I know is Linda Carter made an appearance. Boom. And Linda Carter looks fabulous. And that's all I needed for me to have. We could talk about the plot, how it dragged on, how it's 45 minutes too long. We can talk about all of that stuff. But seeing the Wonder Woman of my generation grace the screen looking fabulous was all that I needed. And let me do a quick search on how old Linda Carter is. Anyway, so we had Wonder Woman 84. We had Linda Carter 69, 5'10", looking all Amazon realness did she look in that movie. Yes. We had Soul, Disney Pixar Soul, which was very soul stirring. So if you haven't seen that, there's a watch party going on right now with Sylvie's Love, and D Nice about to do a music set on that. So that's why I'll be transitioning and going to Club Quarantine for tonight about Sylvie's Love. There's been so many new things that have dropped. I will say this thing about quarantine. The quality of entertainment and team. Listen, Hulu brought the Animaniacs back. Now, if you of my era, I loved watching the Animaniacs. That was like, okay, we got out of class at this time. We went and watched the Animaniacs. So many fun things have happened in entertainment. There's been some good entertainment this year. I don't know. So yeah, look, I got to do what Chris did for Wonder Woman 84. What you do?
I don't know. I guess I got up and plugged up. No, okay. So let's talk. We have to talk a little bit about some of these. Wonder Woman 84. So let me say this. I started it. I stopped it. Rob started it again somewhere. He was cool with missing the whole middle of it. It was like, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to go back. And I'm just gonna pick up wherever I left off. I picked it up and I was like in and out while in and out, and I left and was in and out while it was playing. I feel like I got the basic gist of it. I'll try it again, maybe.
There are some good messages and lessons in the movie, regardless. About
wasn't the guy like? Didn't he remind you again? Was he not like Donald Trump to you? Because he was to me.
Of course.
Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure because I was like, this is just Donald Trump.
There was selfishness. There was media domination. Oh, let me
Yes.
be able to broadcast this message to millions of people and get them to do what I say. All of that. Yes.
Versus, yes.
Versus, like I said, D Nice saved my life plenty of times, and I will be at
Love
Club
quarantine.
is Eve as well. He getting a whole new set built in his house just for that.
And listen, going back to the principles of Kwanzaa, to Kawamba and creativity, I think that, and the fact that, like you said, where goes Black culture, so does
The world.
the world. I think that we have had to get creative in times of crisis. And that has always been our history and our legacy. And so at this time, it just showed that here we are again being uber creative, making something out of nothing. I mean, the fact that I know, obviously Instagram had to create new algorithms and new standards for D Nice because he had so many people in club quarantine. The fact that they had to change the rules for versus as well. The fact that Facebook was like, and I know they own Instagram also, was like, okay, yeah, we're going to give permission to the big celebrities to play music, but now we're going to crack down on you little guys who are out there trying to make money DJing parties. So we're going to cut you off every 2 minutes. You know, it all speaks to our greatness again. Like making something out of nothing and being like creativity just flowing. So I did not see Bridgerton. Is that how you pronounce it?
I binged Bridgerton yesterday, but I will say this. So Shonda Land, since ABC wants a clown and we're like, oh, we can't give you a ticket to Disney. She said, okay, I'm going to take my talent elsewhere.
Do y'all understand? Let me just say this for the record. I would have bought Shonda Rhimes and her whole family the most expensive tickets and would have called everybody I know who still works at the Walt Disney Company. If I just work with you, Shonda? I would have listen. I was like, how stupid. And that, see, we didn't talk about this. So we didn't talk about the fact that Tiffany Haddish turned down the Oscars because they want
talking about movies and entertainment.
Well, that's true.
Girl.
Because they wanted her to do it for free. Huh?
I'm gonna keep sipping my tea as you
okay. Because they wanted her to do it for free. And there was this wonderful post on Instagram of this sister in Britain going off about it. And it is like slavery is over, baby. Pay me, run me them coins, because Black women specifically have been asked to bend over backwards to take the pay cut. We already get paid, 56 cents to the dollar or whatever. We already taking the pay cut. We already have to
how you
our return.
Woman, I don't care if it is virtual, she gonna be at her home. There are things that still will be required, like this technology, like the use of her energy resources, like lights, camera, like she's still gonna have to get her makeup done, like she's still gonna have to get dressed. So all those people, she's still gonna have to pay in order for her to show up in the way that you would expect her to show up to host your show. But you're gonna ask her to do it for free?
Right. And that's why with Shonda Rhimes turning Disney and saying, you know what, because think about it, in the grand scheme of Grey's Anatomy,
we going
where the money resides, yes. I mean, like, it's like, you know, how many billions, and I say that with a B, or at least multi-millions, did Shonda Rhimes, Shonda Land, between Scandal, Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder, Private Practice, how much money did she bring to the Mouse House for this whomever? And he should have been fired that day. whomever said they couldn't give her tickets to Disney as if you don't have enough. And this idea that as Black women, we're just supposed to be like, oh, thank you for just allowing us to be here. We so happy. It is. We got kids to feed. We got families to take care of. We have things to do. We have legacies to build. We have cooperative economics. Okay. We got to buy Black. Okay.
Listen, and like you said, for the Grammys to ask that of Tiffany Haddish.
Not the Grammys. I thought it was the Oscars.
Oh, I thought it was the Grammys. I have to go look it up.
Well, that'll be a little quick look.
Do the quick look and then drop it in the comments. It's disgraceful. It's disgraceful. And like she said, she's at a point now where she don't need the exposure.
Right.
So now they ask you and me, we might say, okay, right? We might say, okay. But she's at the point now, she's already earned.
Absolutely.
So we might say, okay, for exposure. You want to give us some exposure? Hey, Grammys. Hey, Oscars. You want to give Hey Sister some exposure? Let us come and do a red carpet, like we could do the virtual red carpet. How about that?
Yeah, but I'm still not doing it for free. I mean,
well, we gonna at least get the gift basket or something.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying. So, okay, so yeah, I guess you're right. It is the Grammys. I'm sorry. Recording Academy apologizes to Tiffany Haddish for Grammys hosting controversy. So you are correct, sister. But the point is, ask her to pay her own way as host of the Grammy Awards pre-show. Yeah, I'm sorry. So my bad. I said Oscar. Sorry, because I was wondering, because I was like, wait, in the Oscar,
right, Rosalind, pay me for my time.
That's right. And I heard, I follow MJ Harris. I also like MJ Harris, and I was listening to him talk to his nephew earlier. He posted it a few days ago, but it was about teaching his nephew some different principles of manhood. And one of the things, his last principle was about getting paid. And he said, anytime somebody says they want to pick your brain, that means that they know you have something that's valuable and worth paying for. They just don't want to pay for it, basically. And so he was like, so again, if you want to pick my brain, I have a consultation fee. I have it set up where you can pick my brain. People need to understand that if you would not ask a mediocre white man to do it for free, don't ask me.
Oh, that's a word right there. That is a word right there. Well, I'm dropping in the comments here so y'all can take a look at some of these biggest topics for 2020, some of the hottest stories, the biggest topics, and what has happened in 2020. Y'all can check it out. And yes, y'all can check that out. And Gail Hill says, know your worth. That's right.
Like they say, know your worth and then add taxes. And I'm going to say add some fees, some convenience fees too.
Know your worth and add. I got to put that in here. Add taxes. That's a Christina.
Well, I didn't say it first. I mean, it's, but thank you, sister.
Okay.
Anyway, we also, so I don't know if in memoriam we want to take a moment because we did touch on Kobe Bryant, but obviously we lost so many folks in 2020. And I know it's like in my logical mind is like, Christina, we didn't lose any more people in 2020 than we probably lost in 2019 or 2018 or 2017. But man, it felt like it hit so much harder in 2020. So
yeah, well, we were going to show a little video, but we'll drop the link for the video in there for if you all want to go see it. I mean, like she said, we mentioned Kobe Bryant. We as we were reflecting back on and watching the video, Janae Dubois of Good Times, Walona on Good Times. We mentioned Ruth Bader Ginsburg earlier, Supreme Court Justice. We did not talk about in movies and entertainment Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and that being Chadwick Boseman's last performance, which was absolutely phenomenal. So if you haven't watched Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, it is based on August Wilson's play, and it is on Netflix now. If you don't have Netflix, get a friend's login information and watch it. It is definitely worth your time. It was one of the most soul stirring and powerful performances. I mean, he definitely embodied all of the pain and struggle. We talked about, those red candles in Kwanzaa. He embodied all of that. And she embodied all of the self-determination of a woman of color of her time. Yeah, so watch Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, most definitely, and Chadwick Boseman definitely gone too soon, and a powerful performer. We also lost, as we looked at the video, Kelly Preston, who was an actress.
You have John Lewis and C.T. Vivian were two of the.
We're gonna go to our giants of civil rights, and it's not just John Lewis and C.T. Vivian, but also Joseph Lowry, who right now in Georgia would be very much vocal about this Georgia Senate these runoff elections. So we lost all three of them this year. So it's been very interesting. I think I shared, I don't know if I shared, I lost a friend, a very close friend who was a mentor, like a second mother to me, early on in my life this year, just a couple of weeks ago. And she was just a phenomenal, thoughtful woman. And she also had a long battle with pancreatic cancer, like Alex Trebek. So, seeing them, even as they were battling with such grace and poise and just seemingly like they were gonna be the ones to break the trend, right? And her name is Patty Stone, and I miss her dearly. So, we lost Alex Trebek, like we said, a long battle with pancreatic cancer, and, Jeopardy is not going to be the same. Any more that you want to remark on, sister?
No, I mean, I think in the last few days we've lost a few folks that in hip hop and I guess in Black culture or what have you. So it's a lot of names and a lot of people, and Natalie Desselle Reid. I'm sorry, I don't know Ecstasy of Houdini, his real name. Mm-hmm. John. Okay. And Tiny from
Friday movies.
Friday. Yes, I'm sorry. I am not doing very well with these names and everything, but and those are people that we sometimes I think we forget that these are actual people with lives and family members and people who love them and close to them as well. And I think of all the people that personally we know. Like you say, your friend Patty, like my friend's grandmother who just passed, my other friend's father who passed, my other friend's father who passed. It's been a lot of people we know personally, and sometimes we forget that, the Chadwick Bosemans and the Kobe Bryants of the world and everybody in between, they had loved ones, they had family members, they had friends. If we were impacted by them, just imagine how their close family and friends feel. But what I will say in all of this, if there is a lesson to be learned from like a Chadwick Boseman, from a Kobe Bryant, from a Ruth Bader Ginsburg, from a John Lewis, many others, it's, as Aeneas Williams, my Southern fellow Southernite once said, die empty. Although those people are gone, obviously they'll never be forgotten, and they left behind a body of work and a legacy that we can always go back to and remember them and pay proper homage to them and the greatness that they embodied. So for everybody out there who has lost a loved one this year, we are praying for you. Honestly, I know thoughts and prayers become sort of cliche, but we are praying for you because we do recognize that there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of grief, there's a lot of loss. But in this circle of life, and we didn't really talk deeply about soul, but one of the lessons, if you will, about soul is that we do this is a part of the natural order of things. Mm-hmm. And even though it feels terrible, it does make room for new people, new life, right? Because for somebody who lost a loved one this year, somebody else had a baby, and it could have been the baby that they had been trying to have for years, So just, for somebody who lost a job, someone else gained a job, so just trying to remember that aspect of it. I know I'm getting a little long-winded, so my apologies, but.
Yeah, absolutely. And so with that, then what's up for 2021? So sister, this is the last thing. Y'all tell us in the comments, what's up for you in 2021, what you're looking forward to. What do you want to leave on the table? Like you said, leave empty, right? So what do you want to empty out in 2021?
Well, I don't know if there's, the phrase is die empty. So I definitely don't want to die empty in 2021. Yeah, I don't want to die.
You still you gotta do something. What you want to do to make sure that that's off of the list?
I think, like I said, looking at the example of the Chadwick Boseman, and now looking at Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and the power of that performance, as well as so many of his other performances, he loved what he did. Mm-hmm. He found his purpose, and he honed his craft. And although gone way too soon, there will never be another like him.
Absolutely.
And he leaves behind a body of work that we can always reference and say, whew, I got some things that now I need to strive for in my life, so that dash in the middle of the birth date and death date can be really meaningful. And I think his dash was very meaningful. I think Kobe Bryant's dash was very meaningful. I think there were so many people whose dash who we lost in 2020 was very meaningful. So what's up for me for 2021 is striving to make that dash more meaningful.
All right, that sounds good. Well, I know one of the things up, so thank you, Arnetta, for this.
Thank you, Netta.
Thank you both for a great year of Hey Sister. One of the things that's up for us in 2021 is to bring you more of Hey Sister. We have pretty much our first quarter of shows. We're going to continue. So we went to a weekly format due to the pandemic, because we're like, everybody inside, we might as well go once a week instead of every other week. So we have the first quarter of 2021. We pretty much scheduled and booked. And so we are going to continue to bring you more. So look for more from us, more announcements, more new things that will be unfolding for Hey Sister in 2021. We thank each and every one of you for being a part of the family, for spreading the word, for telling a friend about it. If you're interested in coming on Hey Sister, go to our Facebook, go to our Instagram. You'll see the announcement there. Fill out the form. If you have something that you want to sell, promote, you want to talk about, you think it'll make a great topic, reach out to us, because we are looking to book out our calendar for the entirety of 2021 and bring you new and greater things. So just continue to support us, and we continue to be so very humbled and grateful by your presence, by your love and support, and by your prayers, that we can continue to grow this platform and do more in 2021. So that's what's up for me. I have other things up with my own business, so y'all go check out Vantage Point Coaching as well at Vantage Point Coach. But with that, we're going to sign off for tonight. Hey Sister, and say Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
All right. Good night, everybody.